So I think we are live. Let's see, there are a few people in the chat. Hello, everyone. Hello.
We are
Nice to see you.
we are not yet. Okay, now it's great.
So
You're live.
I think we are live.
Yep, I can hear myself.
Let's see, a few people in the chat. Hello,
Thierry.
everyone. Hello.
We are not yet. Okay, now it's great.
So
You're live.
I think we are
Is there like a
live.
return
I can hear
or a
myself.
little echo?
Let's
Thierry.
Voila. I'm
Now,
gonna just
okay.
mute here. Voila. I'm gonna just mute it for a second and then give it the floor to you. Just to say hi to everyone. Lots of people also from other GDGs. So welcome to this online session of the International Women's Day 2026. Breakfast pattern until the future AI stack. It's a super pleasure for me to also this year making it to another event, even though in a different format, and with the partnership of the Google developer groups Mons. I have with me here Thierry. If you want to say anything and hi.
Yes, everyone, thank you, Federica, for this amazing event. It's always a pleasure for us to be joined to you to host events, especially this one. And thanks for everyone here, everyone who joined us today. With our amazing speakers as well, Shriti and Ellen were already there, and we hope everything will be okay tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. In fact, we're going to have a super lineup. We just had a little change for a last minute speaker that couldn't make it tonight, but we're going to keep the agenda more or less invaried with the rest of the speakers. Just our first speaker, Roj, couldn't make it tonight. But we're going to still talk about tools, looking at the entire ecosystem of building for the future with the AI involved. We can start with the user interface, market strategy. We're going to debug the human dynamics that happen during teams. And at the end, we're going to also look at the organizational and community impact of AI. We have 4 incredible speakers joining us from across the globe. In fact, thank you all for making the time to give us your insights and to help our local community. So I would say that without further ado, I will give the floor to our first speaker. That is going to be Shruti Tiwari. And he's talking on a session with the Reframing Product Market Fit, how AI turns signals into strategy. I'm going to leave the presentation to her, and please welcome her to this stage.
All right, that was great, and thank you once again, Federica and Theory. And why don't I just take a moment to start presenting my screen and ensure everything is visible, all good. Yep, my screen's all well, good, nice. We can ignore the 2025 because we are in 26 already. So, yep, great to be here, and I can see a lot of participants joining us. Once again, thank you all for joining from across the globe. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and from whichever part of the globe you're joining in. This is Shruti, and today I'll be talking about decoding product market fit or with AI. So I am sure all of us are from I would say tech background, not product background to be specific, but product background for sure. So I'll not take much time and jump back to the next screen, which says who am I as a person, and here on the screen, lovely to join all of you virtually with that again. So I've been working as a product marketer for almost 9 years now, going to be 10 this year. Outside my so I've worked for e-commerce firms, I've worked for fintechs, worked with a lot of POS machine systems, worked with a lot of credit card and businesses, so on and so forth. And um, so yeah, right now I'm working with this company called as GenRocket, which is an AI ML now focused, more focused on test data. So what we do is we create create test data for everybody working on the test side of the things. uh, Apart from that, I am also a Women Tech Makers ambassador, Grammarly ambassador, and in 2024 I just won my I Am Remarkable award. So I'll keep it going. And if I'm sure, like, we have like some or maybe I'll just refer the chat. So how many of us remember this app called Threads? Threads, Threads. Can I have it in the chat box? Anyone who has heard of Threads or Cred for that matter, or if you're familiar with Orkut, right? So I see Federica saying yes there. So just to give you a bit of ancient timing and recalling what Thread was all about, or what Thread is all about, and what is it. So yes, this so we remember and there was this other brother or sister of Instagram that came quite back, and we were all over it. We saw huge marketing done because of Threads, and we people just started installing in their phones, and a lot of things. I mean, it was just a crazy market back then when it came a few years back. But what happened? I mean, I'm sure today I'm not sure if hardly anybody uses it. So that's the whole point of my session today, that just because you see just because people want it doesn't mean that they need it. So that's why we need to get into the roots of the market and understand the exact need that is there around. And so it's not that Threads came out, thread the app that had any bugs, or it was not user friendly, or it was not very intuitive, or the UI or the UX was very complex. No, nothing of that sort. It was a very nice, well rolled out uh, messaging platform, supporting uh, kind of similar to X and Instagram, all of it. But what happened eventually? So we saw the very first month it attracted billions and millions of users. But after a month, it started the team started noticing the drop in the users. That's right here on my screen is what the slide is talking about. Here is when the product market fit comes. So it's not only about relying and getting happy by seeing the very first traction that you see, or kind of, let's say, the very first month or the very first week. I've had enormous sign-ups on my application, on my ads. I'm seeing people coming in, a lot of people coming in, and there's a lot of budge. People are talking about my product, and it's just rock on. No, it doesn't work like that. That's what I say. Okay, I'm from India, and any part of the world. So there's a stat that says 90% of startups. I say I am from India because we are seeing a lot of startups emerging these days here, and I think it's the same across the world, across the globe. What we can see, or what the data suggests today, is that 90% of startups fail, and of those that survive, more than half fade after their early traction. Something that happened with Threads, not because their product is broken, but because they mistake momentum for meaning. Which means, when Threads came up, 100 million signups in 5 days, which was the fastest in history. But a month later, the daily users did drop by 80%. So now again, I'll quote, not because people didn't like it, because they didn't need it. I already have Instagram, I have a WhatsApp, or maybe Telegram, or maybe any other platform that you're very good and that you feel like using. So you don't need another app occupying the memory of your phone, right? So they were not able to form that habit out of those users, and that is what kills most products in the market. They nail acquisition, they get people in, but lose out on retention because the adoption never sticks in. And that's exactly where today it's all AI. AI is the buzzword. So that's exactly where AI and machine learning changes everything, because AI can see the patterns, or our instincts cannot. It can tell it can tell you about which user is about to be churned before they do, right before they are about to get churned, and it can tell you which feature sparks loyalty, not just random clicks, right? So that's the shift we are decoding today, from gut feel to predictive precision. And that's what I basically do, not in my 9 to 5, but basically whenever I am awake. So working as a product marketing strategist, helping teams bridge what users say versus what they actually do. So let's just get this talking ahead. And one more thing. So I would also like to, and I love taking this example. So product market fit, or just to say, when you launch your product, when you create all that go to market and you bring it out there, so it's 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 obviously not just that you have to keep an eye, let's say, for the first quarter or the first week or the first 5 days or the first month. It's just as, so let's say it's just similar as a heartbeat. You don't check it once, you monitor it constantly, and that's the period. So that's the art of building a product, and kind of checking it all the time to ensure that everything is on point, everything is just working as it should. And before that, you should develop a habit of understanding the problem first. I mean, what is the problem that you're going to address? And with that, I think I'll just take ahead onto my next slide, but I'll just also quickly check if there are any chats in here. Okay, I'd love to see if you have anything. I mean, I'll just keep checking the chats from time here and there, because I just don't want to do one-way speaking, just so I am just blabbering and things are like out of the sky. So happy to take uh, questions, or maybe your feedback here in the chat box, just so I am well aware that there are audiences on the screen and who are listening me actively and not sleeping. And okay, so how do you decide, or how do you get to know the problem market first? So whatever you build now, it's because obviously today we are in the digital era, the competition is huge, huge, huge. You have one idea, there are five to it which is already existing into the market. So you really need to uh, dive deeper and get into the shoes of your audiences. Now you need to be very accurate with the demographics you are going to cater, kind of people you are going to talk to or going to address. Only then you can build something that's actually helpful. So I'll just take this example of a salesperson. Okay, so now this person got into a new job, got into a new firm, and the SOP asked him to cold call his prospects, the warm leads and the cold leads, uh, around 10 calls in an hour. Now what used to happen, so he joined, he was new, he used to make 10 phone calls, but the outcome was nothing. Obviously, I mean, you cannot just go around and keep calling people, because that was the traditional method. So you now need to advance yourself and see what is working, right? So that's when he just started playing around with emails a little more. He started making those warm relationships with his prospects, and started to know them more. Kind of started making that relationship, and then started pitching his ideas, and now the conversion was even more. So now what we're talking about is from uh, bringing your instincts alive to action. So if we go uh, again back traditionally. So historically, all this product market fit was intuition driven. So all the founders, or to say the CEOs, they would talk to users, read feedback, and feel the pulse of the market. So that's when I say the instincts you get, they used to get the feel the pulse of the market. But intuition doesn't scale when you have millions of data points. Patterns hide in plain sight. However, AI today visualizes what intuition feels and connects the dot between usage data, customer sentiments, and the market timing. So I'll just want to take this example of Netflix. So they really did something small. They looked at the user behavior and found a surprising pattern. People who watched an entire show in like less than 48 hours basically binged it, and they were three times more likely to keep their subscription. In other words, the faster someone fell in love with the story, the less likely they were to leave Netflix. And I am a core binge watcher, and I am somebody who can watch 8 episode series in one go. And I'm sure we have people today with me who share the same interest. If so, I'm not sure if people watch Bridgerton. How many Bridgerton fans in here? But I just completed it in one go. Um, Okay, I would love to see the chats going on, but yep. All right, so the whole point was I watched it in one go, and so what did Netflix used to do earlier? They used to bring one series, one episode per day. Now what they did was they stopped releasing one episode a week, and they dropped entire season at once. So you could binge, bond, and just stay hooked on your screen. And that's not luck, or that's not instinct, that's an AI spotting emotional behavior. And Netflix turned it into a business strategy. So it's a perfect example of how AI didn't replace human intuition, however it sharpened it, right? So yep, I mean, to take any other example would be, if instinct is your compass, AI will be your GPS for that matter. And yep. So again, what we're talking about in the predictive loop here is, so again, most team follows a build loop, a loop, which traditionally it was, so you build a product, then you measure the outcomes, and then you learn from it. However, in 2025, the loop has gotten an upgrade, and which says, the idea of AI is to help us sense friction before the metrics crash. So the way I was talking about, you get to know who's going to drop down, who's no longer going to come back to your product. So it's like having a sixth sense for your product. You can feel something is breaking before it actually breaks. That's where you build, you measure there, you get the analytics, you get all the reports onto your screen, you do the predictions, and then you start adapting it. For example, just let's just take Duolingo for an example. So their AI model predicts when a learner is about to quit. So before the user drops off, the app automatically adjusts itself, and sends a friendly nudge, like saying you are 3 days away from your next milestone. So now that's predictive product market fit, and acting right before the damage happens. So what does it do? It basically, it is knowing that you are, you're not very much entertained with the app, or you are not likely to come back. So it'll send you something really very personalized. uh, for another example, we could talk about Spotify. So Spotify's recommendation doesn't only play your favorite tracks, it predicts your boredom. So what it sends is, if you're skipping songs from a playlist too quickly, it will subtly adjust whatever it serves you next. So that's why you really start to feel the urge to switch platforms, and you remain with it, like, kind of, and it keeps you engaged before you even realize you're about to get this, you're not about to continue with it, or you're looking for a replacement uh, tool for that matter. And also, my next slide talks about this beautiful example from Figma. So When Figma first started, they didn't go around doing traditional feedbacks or surveys or asking around users. They didn't come out with survey forms or like the Survey Monkey forms or the Google forms for that matter. And they didn't like they didn't if you like our design tool and so on, because honestly people say that they like something but their behavior will tell you a different story. So the Figma team looked at the usage patterns instead, and here is what they found. They looked if a team invited at least 3 collaborators to a project in their first week, they were 80% more likely to stay active. And if I quote this in other words, the moment people started using Figma together, they got really well equipped with the platform. And that one small insight became their new success signal. So instead of chasing the survey results or the like of people, they focused on getting users to collaborate early, changing how they designed onboarding. So they changed their welcome emails, even how they pitched Figma, and so on. So the message is simple. The takeaway from the slide is simple. Don't chase what people say what they want. Watch what they actually do when they love your product. Because obviously behavior doesn't lie, and that's where your product market fit lives. Right. So this could be as simple as, okay, I'll just quickly move to the next slide and I'll just talk about uh, turning the AI patterns into product moves. So AI gives you signals, but insight is what makes them valuable. The best teams turn data into decisions faster. So let's break it down. So signal is what the data actually shows. Insight is what it means, what you pull out of those signals from the data. And action is something that you are about to take next. And outcome is something which says what actually changes. So Spotify used, again I'm just taking the example of Spotify. They used this exact loop. They saw users skipping songs in a curated playlist, and they analyzed skip behavior by the time of day and mood, and they rebuilt playlists, hence doubling their engagement. So now you would have seen like uh, it's your dinner time and you get a nice dinner, or let's say evening songs for you, well curated, your morning refreshing songs, your afternoon songs, and so on. I mean, it happens with me, but in case Spotify, or let's say Apple Music, or any sort of your uh, platform is your go to tool, you would have seen that. All right, I just read I'm just reading this chat from Angela, and she says, not a Bridgerton fan here, but I understand. Absolutely. I mean, this was the very hot name on my name on my mind, and I got so Bridgerton. There you were. Not promoting it though, but yeah, just one of my favorites at the moment. So, yep. Uh, Now, there's one more thing that we often forget. Uh, users don't stay because your product works. They stay because it feels right. So emotional retention is now the new competitive edge. So Airbnb used their AI-driven sentiment analysis to study trust. They analyzed the host messages and guest reviews and started picking up the keywords that made people safe. So this small insight shaped host policies and UI language, hence shooting their retention all away, right? So it's not just clicks, but AI can also help us measure emotion. And I think because all of us are must be working from are working in different backgrounds and different departments, so we can relate a lot to it. Because here it is, AI is highly empathetic and not just a robot that we think of. they're as cold and robotic in nature, but in product design it's the opposite. It scales empathy. AI lets listen to millions of users simultaneously. So just imagine, initially you were running surveys, feedback forms, and you were 50 you have 50 of form responses, and you were just going through them, reading here and there and taking notes. And now this is something that you can get a consolidated report from millions of users simultaneously. So Notion, for example, Notion, a tool, a work management tool, for example, takes micro frustrations in onboarding. When users pause on a single step for too long, the system flags it, and then they know that, this is where the user is kind of experiencing a friction, or is not able to get that right, or maybe is not comfortable with this particular thing. And then that's when they start the team starts analyzing and kind of rebooting the entire thing. And maybe designers then simplify that step, reducing the confuser before it becomes a complaint that is dropped on and shared. So empathy used to mean one cross one feedback. Now with AI, it's 1 versus 1 million. So we can see the shift, we can see how it scales. And again, let's take the example of Shopify. This is one of the e-commerce platforms, if we are aware about that now. So it During COVID, the small business customers were in high panic mode, and sales were dropping, stores were shutting down, and business owners weren't thinking about growth. However, they were just thinking about survival. Now Shopify's AI system picked this up, not from sales number, but the tone of customer support chats and the emails. Specific keywords like shutdown, rent, and how to survive started spiking. Now the optimism that used to fill those conversation words like expansion and marketing almost vanished. So what did Shopify do here? They quickly pivoted their messaging from grow your store to survive and adapt. They rolled out new templates for local delivery, launched cash flow relief tools, and changed their marketing tone overnight. Now, that one shift in language, AI insights, increased the retention and customer trust massively. So it's not waiting for users to leave; it's sensing their reality changing and moving with them. And yeah, right here. So here's where we make it more predictable. So a predictive, or let's say the best product market fit, doesn't need 100 dashboards. It only needs 3 signals: activation depth, how many users build a habit early, not install but repeat. So okay, I'll just come back to it. The sentiment delta, are people sounding more positive over time? Are the complaints turning into compliments? Are the support tickets dropping? And the market pulse fit, is your messaging actually aligning with what the market is actually searching for? For example, if you are saying automation, your messaging or your preposition says automation, however, but your users are googling and searching for efficiency, you're out of sync. So AI helped you track this alignment in real time. And let's just take this example where I was talking about activation depth. So having new acquisitions, when I say new acquisitions, means new users come to your product, to your platform, is one thing, but having them retained is another very important thing, and I'll just come to that. So here's what I want you to take with it. So uh, just to say, like, all this the NPS language and AI and machine language and everything. So it's not about replacing the human intuition, it's about refining it better. So it can be a product marketing fit, which used to be one time discovery. It's a living system today, dynamic, very data driven, and deeply human. So don't just chase a stable PMF. Instead, design a system that continuously reveals it. And before I go next, I would just say that so it's just that if I just kind of take an example, okay. So might be I might take attentions of people in here. So let's just imagine. So you're already in a relationship with your partner, and something happens, and you are now on the verge of breaking up. So and now you have two options. A is to look for a new partner, or B is to come back and resolve the conflict in between you two and kind of strengthen that bond and take it ahead, right? So what would you normally choose? Would you would you look for a new partner, so that will be working from scratch, getting to know each other, doing a lot of work, the 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and so on? Instead, you get to choose to choose and come back to your previous partner and just make things right. So it's the same here in the world of tech, in the world of product. So you want your customers to keep coming back to you without any extra bonus or incentives that you are providing. So you need to measure, let's say, uh, are they coming on their own, are they coming organically, are they also inviting their peers, their family? That's when you are doing a great job out there. And yep, I can see it depends, but yep, I mean, it's always so if we see the business metrics, it says that y- acquisition is one metric, but your retention numbers should really be good. What does retention metric mean? It means if you have the repeat customers coming back to you on loop, the day you monitor that, the day you kind of nail it out, you have really made it out loud into the world. So yep. And I think with that, I am good for today. And I don't want to take much time as well. And I think I'll just hand over the mic to Federica and Theory. And thanks again for listening to me, you all. And I hope
Thank you. A little sum of clapping hands in the chat, I would say, for Shruti and the amazing insights that she shared with us, and reminding us that, one thing is building something, and then the other is making sure that people love it and stick around. So thank you so much, Shruti, for your time and your presentation. Next up, following the agenda, we're going to have Elaine. Elena is a senior staff engineer at Sphere and a Google developer expert for Flutter. And she's here to answer a big question. Are apps dead, or are they just becoming conversational? With a talk on Gen UI and the future of apps, another spam of clapping hands for Elaine joining the virtual stage. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I will just share my screen. Yes, thank you for the introduction, and I think we can go. Yes, I see my slides. I think we're good to go. Again, thank you for having me. Thank you for the organization. I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. So, as it was introduced, let's try and answer this question. What is the future of apps? We've all been seeing a lot of things going on in the industry, and with ChatGPT and Gemini and so on. And a lot of people are asking themselves the questions, what is the next level or the next generation app going to look like? So today I'm going to talking about a generation UI, which uses generation AI in order to build dynamic experiences. So, but first of all, if I have the control of my cursor here, let me just put the pointer. Yes, this is better. As was said, I'm Elaine. I'm a senior staff engineer at Sphere in Paris, France, where I work mostly with Android and Flutter projects. So a lot of mobile projects. I'm a GD. I'm a Google developer expert for photo and art, but I'm also a former Google Assistant GD, with the Google Home and everything. So what really interested me and still interests me to this day is the new ways that we can actually interact with technology, either with voice or chat-based apps and so on. So I think we'll be covering a little bit about this topic today as well. But before diving in, I want to tell you a quick story that happened to me. I was on vacation with family going to Spain. I was arriving by train to the Madrid Atocha train station. And as I said, I am a mobile developer. And as a mobile developer, one thing that I tend to do is that I love watching people use their phones and how they use apps. And today, a lot of people are actually using some kind of chat-based app. And the person that was just in front of me, he was using it. So this was what it looked like on the day. I was there picking. Of course, I think this illustration is maybe too creepy. I wasn't actually leaning that close to him, but I was interested because he was actually interacting with ChatGPT about his trip. And he had a bunch of text on his telephone. And I tried to do the interaction again, just so you see what kind of information that he had on his phone. Basically, what he wanted to do as he was arriving to the city is that he said, okay, what is the best way, he asked ChatGPT, what is the best way to go to hotel something? I just put some random hotel that is in Madrid. And ChatGPT was thinking a little bit, and then it got the answer. So either by taxi, bus, walking, and so on, with a bunch of information. And fast and easy, recommended behavior, good balance, if you're light and the weather is fine. And you see this so much information. And then I was just watching him go through, read everything carefully. Okay, so this, and he just wanted to go to his hotel, and it got me thinking. Why even using ChatGPT for this? There are so many awesome apps that already do this job so well, such as Google Maps, City Mapper, Move It, or any other transportation app in your city. But again, I was thinking, and for him, maybe he's an avid ChatGPT user, and he just does it like this now. And one thing that happens when you travel a lot is that sometimes Google Maps is not that accurate on the itineraries or on the hours of the things. Some cities it works best, some cities it works not so good. City Mapper is not present in all of the cities. Move It is very, very common, I think, in South America as well. So each city has its best app, and you're just arriving to the city. So ChatGPT, maybe he's going to get all the information and show it to you. But the thing is, and you can actually see it. He took some information from Move It apps, some from websites and other websites here. So really interesting. But as you can see, the UX is very poor. There's so much text, and you need to scan everything to make a decision to where to go. And the thing is, it is 2026, and as you can maybe see yourself in your daily lives, for you and for people around you, people are using more and more those kind of apps. So, as I was saying in the introductions, are regular apps even making sense anymore? Are they needed? So yeah, my personal opinion is that many, or even the majority today, of the use cases, as the one we just saw before, they are not well implemented at all on those apps, because basically what you have is a bunch of text to read, and this is really a poor experience. But what is happening is also people are getting more used to this kind of interaction, like asking questions and prompting a system. And right now, we are still figuring out how we are going to make the best use of all of the new technologies and how we can adapt all of this to our business and our existing apps. And the thing is, again, this is what you're getting now. We're getting a bunch of text. Basically, I ask something, I get a bulk of text, and then I ask, which one would you prefer? Faster, and I can give you step-by-step directions and so on. So even more text afterward. So yes, this is the reality, a wall of text that you need to read. Can't we do better? Yes, we can. There are two main solutions if you want to integrate some kind of rich experience inside of a chat-based app. Either you're going to integrate with an existing chat platform, because there are existing solutions to do that. For example, with ChatGPT's Apps SDK that was announced in October, I think, of last year, which is really convenient for like the person that was encountered on the train. People that are already using ChatGPT a lot, it would be really cool for them to use your service inside of ChatGPT. But what about all of your other users that are really loyal to your services that are not using ChatGPT? And as a business, you really need to be careful about the policies from the provider. So basically, you have to agree with the policies from ChatGPT, and of course, all of users' data will be going through ChatGPT's OpenAI servers. And of course, the second alternative will be to integrate a chat experience in your existing app, a really rich experience in your existing app. So this is best for your loyal users that already know your app, that already have your app. And what is really nice is that it allows new experiences that are much more personal to your user and to your users, and they're much more easy to use as well. So yes, in case you haven't guessed, this is what this talk is about. So GenUI. What is GenUI in terms of the Flutter ecosystem? Basically, it is a package. It is a Flutter package that you can get. You can go to pub.dev. This is a package that you can import. You can put on your PubSpec file, import it, and use it. You have all the information, have a bunch of documentation in order to integrate with it. And so yes, really easy to use. I'll be giving some links at the end so you can have more information. And you can also see, as I said, I'm a mobile specialist, but it's working on all the platforms that Flutter supports today. So Android, iOS, Linux, macOS, web, and Windows. So you can integrate it everywhere. And in order to explain in a little bit more detail, but not going into implementation details, I'm going to be giving you the rough idea of how this SDK works. So basically, you have your user here that is giving a prompt. The first request will be a prompt. For example, plan a trip somewhere, plan a trip to Tokyo. So he's going to be putting this in an input field. Your app that is using the GenUI SDK will send the request to the GenUI SDK. The SDK is going to forward this request to an AI agent. For example, emphasis on for example, because this is not mandatory. You can use Gemini. It is easier to use Gemini because you'll be inside of the Google ecosystem, but you're not obliged to do so. But for example, you can use Gemini. And then the AI agent will generate back the content in relation to this request right here. Oh, and I forgot to say as well that when you do the request right here, your Flutter app will also define a list of widgets, a catalog of widgets that can be used by the agent to build the response. So there are a lot of details that hook in order to hook everything up, but basically you have to give a list of widgets that can be used. So this you send the prompt and the widget catalog info, and then your AI agent will generate some content and a structured UI description, basically a JSON response will send a JSON response back to the SDK that will process it as it needs, and then the GenUI SDK send back the rendered UI to the Flutter app, and then it displays to the user some button, slider, text, image, or whatever. So you can see this is from the user all the way to the AI agent and back to the user again with the answer. And then the user can send a follow-up request because maybe in the response there was some buttons where he needed to click. So for example, he's going to tap a button and then there's a follow-up request that will be sent to the agent again. It will generate a new content based on this interaction. Will process everything, update the existing widgets, and then display all the way back to the user the updated UI. So this is the rough idea. Another way to look at it is through the main components. Here we have the user right here on the left and the insides of the GenUI framework on the right. I wanted to show this only so you can see some of the main components that are out there in this solution. So again, it starts with the user that's providing a prompt. Then it goes to the GenUI framework through the GenUI conversation object, which is basically the main object that orchestrates everything. So there's this send request a call that is made to the GenUI conversation object right here. It is this one sends this prompt to the content generator. And this is where our AI model lives. So either Gemini or any other content generator that you would like to use. And this one right here, it will return what is called an A2UI messages. I have a slide just after, a few slides after, that is explaining what A2UI is. Basically, this is a protocol also created by Google in order to manage those dynamic UI optimized to be to be created by agents, basically. So agent to UI, basically message. So we send a prompt, plan a trip to Tokyo to the content generator, and then this here, it implements the A2UI protocol in order to create A2UI messages and then send to the processor. And here, the processor, what will do is that it will basically, in relation to, depending on the widgets that were updated or that were created, because here on the content generator as well, you have all of the widget catalog that was sent. And then, okay, so for this, I need on the insides of the app, that was, it was saying, okay, for this case, I need to show a card, for example. So it would send a A2UI message, a card back here. And then this processor will notify the GenUI surface with the widgets that is created or updated. And then the GenUI surface actually renders back the UI to the user. And here you can see that we'll have this arrow going here from the system to back to the user, but then the users again can click on a button or something like this, so he can interact back with the system. So he creates a new event, and then we can look back to the system and then go back, send a prompt, generating a new A2UI message, figuring out what widget, update, notifying the system, and rendering the new UI, basically. So this was kind of complicated. I think it's much better to see an actual demo. Okay, I need to do something, sorry. This, yes, and then this. I'll just do that. I don't think I have, I'm really sorry. I think I have shared the wrong thing. Sorry about that. I need to share the whole screen. Yes, really sorry. Share again. Okay. Here you can see, as I said, one thing that you send to the system, it's this is an example app that you can find on the Flutter samples for GenUI repository on GitHub. This, for example, this is what I told you. In your Flutter app, you say, okay, this is the collection of widgets that I'm going to be giving to the system in order for the system to use it to give me back an answer that is going to be using this, okay? And just so you have an idea as well, this is when you are first prompting the system, this is what a prompt would maybe look like. So this is like a travel planner. So you are helpful assistant, that does this and that. Conversations, follow a rough flow, because sometimes it's not a linear, you know, you can do something first and then another thing. So a bunch of instructions right here, you can take a look. And it also says what kind of format is expected to be given back to the systems. Okay, yes, you should give me something that looks like this, you know. And my app has compiled. Let's see it right here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Really simple app. Don't limit yourselves thinking that the UI will be exactly like this. The UI will be as much polished as your own UI is, because you are the one giving the widgets to the system. So the widgets that you're going to see today are actually the widgets from the app. So this is not an AI or Gemini or something limitation. This is your app that is on control, basically. So I did some experimentations before with several cities, but each time I did one city. And since this event is being co-hosted by two cities, I will try and plan a trip to both cities from Paris, from where I live. So I never did it before. If it doesn't work, let's just blame it on me from not preparing better, because I just did one city, and now today let's do with two cities. So plan a 5-day trip from Paris to I think it's kind of small, but I think you can see I'm writing below here on the chat, on the input here, from Paris to Mons, Belgium, because I know there are other Mons, then Brussels. Let's see, just this. Oh yes, and I don't think you can see, but we can actually, as it is loading, because we actually send the request. Let's just take a look real quick. To basically, it's JSON stuff being sent, forwarded back, and we send all of the widgets through, and this is what the protocol looks like. Okay, so here we have Paris, Mons, Brussels, 5 days for two people. And it had guessed some tags, it doesn't matter, but here you can see what it looks like. And if I click, oh, generate itinerary, okay. It didn't, and each experience is different, because it said, okay, do you really want me to generate itinerary? In general, it does it on the first step, but it didn't this time. This is the beauty of using AI agents, I guess. Each time it's different, and it is loading. Let's see if we get something interesting. Yes, because it wanted me to confirm, you know, the number of guests, the budget. Oh, okay, yes, the budget, mid-range, and the interest. So I just put it as it was. So culture, history of food, and it is processing. As you can see right here, building. Okay, so it's done, I think. Yes, so here it is. Let's say if this makes sense. So the first of all, okay, arrival in Paris, okay, it's fine. And then Paris to Mons, Mons to Brussels, Brussels cities. In Mons, it told me to visit the historic town hall and the famous Lucky Monkey statue. I've been there, so I know what they're talking about. There's a famous monkey on the main city square, so really cool. And then take the train to Brussels for the experience the best of Belgian culture, art, and food. Grand Place in Brussels, and then the last day in Brussels, going to the Royal Museums of Fine Arts because it was on our interests culture. So it's cool. And you can see right here, I have buttons. So I sent back an input to choose. I think it was the train from Paris to Mons, something like this. So you can see it is processing again. So basically for each input, I'm changing the experience and I'm going to be giving back again this kind of widgets because, oh yes, it was, I didn't look, but it was about my stay in Paris because it put one night in Paris. So this is mocked data, Dart Inn or Flutter Hotel for this. And then I picked this one. And you were seeing all the widgets that we see right here. They are actually coming. I showed you the list before, but this is what they look like. And this is what we are giving to the AI agents. All the list of all the widgets. Again, your apps is as beautiful as the widgets that you're going to provide. So work on your widgets. And so, yeah. So again, it wanted to finalize. It figured, okay, she picked the hotel, so now she needs to pay for the hotel. I need to do this and so on. So you can see it is evolving as I am interacting with the system. So I hope this was clear, how the system works. Basically, what I think is really nice is that you really get the best of the both worlds. We have like a chat-based experience where I can do things whatever I want, and the customizations of your own application with your own widgets, which is so nice. Again, as I was saying before, the protocol that is used behind the scene, it's called the A2UI protocol, which is basically messages being sent back and forth from the app through the GenUI SDK to all the way to the agent. And this is working, of course, the part that is working for Flutter is the implementation for Flutter, but this is platform agnostic. This can be used for React, for Angular, for whatever. And as I said, the agent doesn't need to be the Gemini agent. It can be another agent as well. So for the content generator, the part that is actually going to generate the content, you can either use the Gemini API for the samples that you want to run locally. You can do with the Gemini API. So yes, for local testing. But if you want to put it into production and use Gemini, you can use Firebase AI Logic that will manage, that will keep your API keys safe. And if you want, you can actually build your own server that is complying, that is implementing the A2UI protocol. So you can do it yourself. And you can even use, as I was saying, you can even use whatever LLM provider that you want to. So it's very open. Some useful links as promised, a lot of documentations. There are some YouTube videos where I can go deeper on the implementation details, the package, the A2UI website that is showing this protocol implementation. A blog post also showing how the GenUI SDK works. And finally, the GitHub repo containing the GenUI samples. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll just see if I have any questions. Share which platform you use for building the agent. It was, the agent is Gemini. It is Gemini. For this example, is using Gemini. And if there are no other questions, just invite everyone that wants to keep in touch, ask for the questions. I will be publishing the slides into a post that I'll be giving, that I'll be publishing tomorrow. And don't hesitate to connect with me there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elaine. Thank you. That was super great. And now for the next speaker, I'm going to give it to Thierry for the intros.
Yes, thank you again, Ellen, for this amazing talk. It was very interesting. Okay, now we're going to welcome our next speaker. So I say we are looking at the code and the market, but what about the people behind the screen? Our next speaker is an engineering manager and a Google developer expert for Android. Okay, she has built high-performing teams across fintech, healthcare, and automotive industries. And she's also passionate about making team workflow. Okay, so join us, please, to welcome Anna to help us with our communication in debugging team dynamic, building communication charter that lasts.
Thank you so
Anna.
much. Yeah, thank you so much, Federica and Terry. I wanted to say cute baby to Federica before she left. So, yeah. Let me try and share my screen. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, thank you for the introduction. Today, I'll be speaking on debugging team dynamics and how to build a good communication charter that would last. So, towards the end, I will explain the difference between the canvas I will show and the communication charter. So just before we start, I would like to talk more about myself again. As Thierry pointed out that I'm an engineering manager, I'd like to also mention that before I was working as a software developer, I programmed and did a lot of development work in mobile for Android as well, and iOS. And before that, I did a bit of websites and then also did a bit of work on DevOps. So I have that background with me. And when I transitioned into engineering management, it was very different because now I'm more into the people management bit of it, strategically helping engineers to perform better in teams and less of coding. Yeah, despite that, I'm still Google developer for expert for Android. And yeah, why I also put a photo of a bicycle is when I'm not working, I like to cycle. So that's just a bit about me. And originally, I'm from Kenya, just I put my flag there, and I live in Germany. So today's agenda will focus on just 5 things. What is the core problem that faces teams? What are the conflict styles that exist that are well known? And then how do we get through the breakthrough of this? And what would be the ideal solution in navigating team dynamics? And in the end, my favorite part, which is the question and answer, I'm looking forward to your questions. So feel free to use the chat and we can discuss. So just a small icebreaker before we go to the next bit. I'd like to see from the chat on your, please feel free to type on the chat. What are some of the personality traits or some of the personality, how do I say? Yeah, just call them traits that you've seen in the workplace that make communication feel like it's challenging or it's like very difficult to navigate. I'd like to hear from you. If you can just type on the chat. Anyone? Okay. I was hoping this can be a bit more interactive. Are there any, okay, any personality traits you think would be worth mentioning? Okay, if you have no idea, then I can go ahead and show you examples. Yeah, it's a hard question. Okay, let me go ahead. Then we could see if they make more sense and relatable to you. So generally, why communication breaks down in the workplace is there's always an recognized difference between 2 people, for example, or a group of people, And then there's always unspoken style of communication that will lead to conflict. But the goal of it all is how do we transition from this kind of reactive interaction to being intentional with each other in the workplace. So I'll walk you through just some simple steps that worked for us in our team. And when I was talking about personality traits, I was hoping someone would mention some of this. So someone who's aggressive, someone who's passive, or someone who's both passive aggressive. And then there's also the assertive. So let's talk more about each section and try to break it down. So when you try and classify someone who's aggressive, some of their traits would look like they're dominating, they often interrupt, and they would always more often than not ignore others during maybe group settings or discussions. And for someone who's passive is someone who would be avoiding conflict, wanting to always stay silent during discussions or high heated conversations. And more often than not, they would prioritize others before themselves. And then when you combine these two traits, passive-aggressive, so someone who's giving you mixed signals, who's undecisive or indirect when trying to communicate, and they'll always send confusing signals or communication. Then for the assertive, which is a bit more different from these two, is someone who's direct, very clear, is respectful, and advocates for themselves as well as others at the same time. So ideally for assertive, that's something that would be the end goal of any person in a team. But this doesn't mean the rest are, the rest don't play a role. I'm going to show you later how all this come to play, but assertive, we can't all expect everyone in the team to be assertive. So assertive is something that you can work towards, but doesn't mean that if you're not assertive, then you're failing the team. So one example is of how to think about it within the team is try and analyze for yourself, like, are you analytical? Do you seek precision when you're trying to communicate? Are you a driver? Do you seek the results? Or are you expressive? Someone who brings out the creative buzz within the team. So if you're looking at where exactly do you fall and you find like you can't place yourself really, then it's really important to have this communication discussion, for example, with your manager or with your teammates, where they can give you feedback to see what is something that is portrayed from your personality trait within the team. So for our team, for example, what we did, we went through a communication training with one of the agile coaches in our company. And this way I was also, for me as a manager, I was also able to take part in this exercise. And it was really helpful because in the end, we came together and wrote a team canvas by the end of the session. It was a full day workshop. So a team canvas is a set of shared agreements that define how you want to show up in conversations, give feedback, and navigate conflict. Because in the end, we wanted to all have this one blueprint that we could always refer to as a team and would guide us as we continue having discussions, or if need be, conflict arises, and how do we navigate that. Another bit that was shown to us during that whole communication workshop was this team canvas. So I mentioned at the beginning, one point of this talk is to enable you to write a good team charter that will help the team. So having this team canvas is what now would build to what you'll end up having in a team charter. And if you look closely, there are different categories, and we'll go through each of them together as I explain them. So in the team, there are people and their different roles. So we put all of this in one category, and everyone put in their sticky, everyone put in their name, and even maybe one favorite thing about them. Then when we go to the next section about the common goals, we talk broadly about what does a team do. And if you don't have a common goal as a team, then this is already going to be a problem, because you end up finding people have different expectations of what the team is supposed to deliver. And then from the common goals, we went to the personal goals, where everyone would talk about their career ambitions, or what are some of the things they are motivated to get out of from the team that they're in. And by having this overview, you get to know who can even like pair or buddy with someone else in the team if you have the same personal goals. And then in the middle, which is a bit blocked, is the purpose. So this one comes in once we talk about the values. From the values, we chose like simple keywords that would help us align on what are some of the common goals that we have. And then the needs and expectations, again, coming from the common goals that we discussed together as a team. And all this now help us come in with one purpose. So ideally, you should have one or two stickies for the purpose section, so that you're not confused about, you have one clarity or together as a team. Then the rules and activities section, this was really fun for us to do, because setting up rules for a team is fun when you're the one setting them up, because in this way, it's something that came from within the team and not an external person bringing in the rules. So for example, we said our stand-up should start on time and end on time. If someone joins 5 minutes late, we don't have to wait for them, something like that. And this was already a good rule that we could write in our team charter. Some of the activities we also picked for ourselves was having quarterly dinners together as a team, because there was this budget allowed for us in the company. And now everyone had a chance to look forward to this, and we could also suggest where to go for dinner or what other activity we could try during the dinner. Then for the strengths and assets section, this section was mostly for us to build towards highlighting the good things that are happening in the team, because sometimes we focus so much on communication is broken down in the team. We focus so much on things are not working. We don't feel like we're making progress. There's so much conflict or misalignment. But focusing on the strengths and assets of the team was really nice for us to know that we actually like working together. We have people good at what they do. So I think this was a really good time to focus on for us. And then the weaknesses and risks, we also listed them out, because it was the whole idea of even why we brought up the communication training, for us to pinpoint these things. So yeah, having a look at all of it in one page was really nice for us. And at the end of it, we went for dinner together as a team. And I would say, from my perspective, and I even took feedback from the team 3 months later, that the communication training and team charter process really helped us get better together. So I thought it would be a nice thing to share today. I have the resource pages here for you to check out if you want. I also wrote an article about it if you want to check it out on Medium. So feel free to look at them. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, and if you have further questions. But yeah, thanks for listening. Let me see if there are questions. Okay. Someone said I answered your question. Which tool did you use to build? Yeah, it was a Team Canvas question. Could you share which platform you used for building the agent? Me? Oh, that's not me. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for Anna? Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. And we have arrived almost at the end of our session with the last speaker that is going to be introduced by me and the little Arthur. So for close the event, indeed, we are going to be joined by Adejok, who works on the intersection of technology, talent, and organizational change. She's also a founder of the African Tech Woman and Abby, and the convener of Function, a community for grounded AI conversations. With a decade of experience across African and global markets, she specializes in delivering real-world outcomes. But I'm going to also let her introduce herself and give us all the insights for the closing session of today. So thank you so much for joining the virtual stage. A lot of virtual clapping hands for Joke. And
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that intro, Federica. Quite exciting to be speaking with everyone tonight. Just checking, can you all hear me? You can just drop in the chat if you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, cool. So let me open up my slides. And doing that. Okay, can you all see it? Good? Okay, so quick summary about me. I am JK for short, and my background is in product marketing. I have worked across startups and scale-ups across West Africa, the UK, and the US market. And today I run an AI consultancy where I help teams, mostly HR, procurement teams, implement AI into their workflows. And that's something I'm really passionate about, and I'd love to share with you, borrowing from my experience, how you can go from building a tool first for yourself, but also like scaling adoption internally. So to start, I have a question for everyone. You could just drop your answers in the chat. Could you tell me about like one repetitive task your team does every week that you think should be automated? If you can think of anything, it could be a tool that you think should replace that task, or you think you just think that there's a task that your team does like every week. You just don't think any human being should be doing that. If you have any ideas, just drop them. Somebody said meeting schedules. Interestingly, I worked at a company that does that, basically automating interviews, scheduling, and any form of meeting in general for teams. So yes, that's a very good use case. Anyone else? Okay, you can just keep dropping your answers in the chat. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to explain what a workflow is. Thanks, Hannah, daily stand-up. I wish we could automate that. Yeah, so it'll be useful to understand what a workflow is. I'm sure you must have heard that term, in different conversations. You see maybe LinkedIn posts, people talking about AI workflows. But I just want you to know, a workflow is simply how work gets done. Timesheets, that's actually interesting. Now, if you think about some use cases, like if say you're in product management, for example, your workflow for identifying potential products or features to work on is you conduct user interviews, you synthesize the transcripts, and then you pull specific themes, you write up a summary, and then you create a PRD from that. That's a workflow. Now, if you were to embed AI into that workflow, you're basically removing yourself from some parts of the process. So you're saying, instead of spending time reading through 50 plus transcripts, AI does that for you, extracts those themes, pulls all the specific codes, and then you get to review, the summary, and then you decide what to do next with it. If you were building, say, an AI agent, you could then even ask questions trying to better understand, if you wanted to like dive deeper into specific themes, for example, you could query the agents to give you more insights on that. So whenever you think about a workflow, I have a set of steps to get a particular work done. That is the workflow. And then what AI does for you is it removes you from, some of the steps in that workflow. Now, one other thing I'd like to highlight is between workflows built for you and workflows built for others. Another question for everyone: how many people here, you could just drop a +1 if you, in the last, say, 3 months, used AI to build something for yourself? Whether maybe build is a much more complex term to use there. You've used AI in your work, whether it's refining content, whether it's building an agent. If you've used AI in your work, just drop a +1. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm seeing some submissions there. Now, the good thing is it's exciting to build lots of tools for yourself that you can improve your personal productivity with. It could be as simple as using ChatGPT on a daily basis, which is great. But then you can also do things like using platforms, say like make.com, N8N, or Gumloop, for example, to build workflows, right? And I can give you some examples of workflows I have built for myself. But then everyone here works with, a team, whether it's a team of 3 or a team of 10, regardless of the size. There are things that you people jointly do together that you may have seen an opportunity, to automate. And some of the examples, people have dropped here. And the problem I have seen working with teams in general is, one person is super excited about AI and its possibilities, but then everyone else is just meh about it, right? So how do you get people to be just as excited with you and get to that point where they want to experiment with AI? And these are some examples of, how tools can be used at a personal level, like as an individual, but that how they can also work when you use them at the team level. If you take writing, for example, everyone here has probably used ChatGPT to improve their writing, but an AI workflow could be everyone, for whatever like blog posts or article or any long form content they wanted to write, they could trigger a workflow built for the team to help them create a draft that aligns with the company's tone of voice and the style guide, right? So you're not reprompting the workflow to make sure that it aligns with your tone of voice. It's being built from the ground up to deliver that output consistently, right? Now, another example could be in customer support. And you're already seeing that if you've interacted with some of the modern tools or SaaS tools today, is on the front end, you're probably chatting with like a bot. You already know you're chatting with a bot, but like behind the scenes, it's triaging those conversations. Before, it used to be a human being deciding, oh, this should go to, people who solve issues with the product. This should go to the sales, support team. This should go to people who want to maybe churn, right? Now AI does that for companies. And if this were your own individual tool, you'd probably sit, probably asking your AI tool to say, oh, where should this go? What folder would this ideally fit? Who should I send this to? At a team level, that's being done automatically for the team. So those are some examples of how AI tools can go from personal one-person use to becoming a thing that people use widely. Now, in thinking about how to scale any AI workflow, you should probably consider some realities. Just give me a second. I want to make sure that I'm presenting this right. Okay, great. Now, you want to make sure that you cover some realities. When you're building a tool for yourself, you have all the context. You understand the inputs, you know the formats. Say for example, you want to build, you build a tool that helps you summarize your text. You know the prompts that you entered into the AI tool. Let's say Gumloop as an example, right? You've asked Gumloop, I want to create a workflow. Every time I put in a draft, give me refined content. You have that input. If someone else wanted to use that, they would need to put in their own context. So basically, if you give someone a template of your workflow, they can't use that same prompt you entered into the workflow setup. They'd have to recreate or re-instruct, the agents or the AI rather, just so it can give them an output that's consistent to their own, needs, right? Or that aligns with their own needs. Now, at a team level, you want to create one agent or one workflow that has organizational context. What that means is if you go back to the article generation example that I gave earlier, if I'm writing content for myself and I'm using AI to help with that, I have given ChatGPT maybe context about me. As a team, ChatGPT, let's say the custom GPT, assuming that's the tool we're using, needs to have context about the organization. What products do we sell? What markets are we in? Who are our customers? What are their pain points? And then figure out the ideal angles for that article. So that's the way you need to understand the different ways you have to context switch when you're building just for yourself versus when you want people to actually use those tools. The other bit is for you, if you build a workflow for yourself, you know what's good enough, right? And if you think it's good enough, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But if you're building a workflow for a team, it's quite subjective. Unless you have a shared understanding of what good looks like, everybody will have their own views on what's good and what's not. And then workflows that you build at a team level needs to handle, variations. People are going to prompt it differently. People are going to ask, different kinds of questions. People are probably going to want different kinds of outputs. If you don't provide specific, guardrails, guidelines, even documentation to help people understand this is how this workflow operates. These are the set expectations you should have of this workflow. It cannot do anything outside of the scope that's been defined for this workflow. Those are things that need to go into any workflow that you're building at a team level. Now, what then do you decide to build for the team? Now, that's a problem that I see typically within organizations. It's, oh, there's this thing that we think is super great. Or as a person, you think there's something your team should absolutely be using AI for, but then you have to take a step back to really understand if they care. You have to assume that people don't really care unless you speak their language. And how do you do that? You have to put yourself in the shoes of a product builder or a product manager at best. Not an AI enthusiast. An AI enthusiast is the person who wakes up every day and comes up with like 20 ideas of things they could build with AI. And then he's showing everyone, here's the next, here's the new shiny thing I have built. And then you expect people to be, excited with you about it, right? At an organizational level, it needs to align with, the business needs, what teams care about, what specific pain points they're trying to solve that you think AI can be an enabler. And some examples I'll give as well. Before you even, decide the first thing, you first need to figure out where to play. The best place to play in terms of like deciding what to prioritize, you probably have like 10 ideas of workflows you could build. And if you're in a place where you need to influence people to get excited about building workflows with AI or embedding AI into workflows, you need to start where it's low risk and potentially high impact. It can be difficult to find those things truly, but I have done them and I think you can find them. So high risk things, the way to think about them, anything that touches your customer data, your people data, your organizational data, those are very high risk. You do not want to start there because, as you know, AI tools are evolving. You have a lot of failure rates. Tools hallucinate, for example. We're still trying to figure out like how compliant some of these tools are. You don't want to start in a place where, you know, if anything fails, then somebody needs to go down for it. You don't want that. And you also don't want something where, because it fails, everybody just, you know, hands off and says, well, this is not worth it, we're not ready. And all of those many different reasons people tell you they don't want to touch AI. You want to start from somewhere where it feels like you've done something useful, but you've not, you know, impacted the organizational data or customer data or any sensitive data in any way. One example I'll give is, like I said, my background is in product marketing. The sales team, I work with the sales team on a regular basis. And I was having a conversation with one of the sales reps who said they realized that every time they told a customer or a prospect about their Glassdoor reviews, the prospect will suddenly perk up because they're interested in improving their employer brand reputation. And the rep kept spending so much time, you know, looking through Glassdoor reviews to identify where candidates talked about the interviewing experience. So what I did was I built an automation. There was an AI workflow that basically scrapes Glassdoor reviews, looked through that to identify places where, to identify quotes and reviews where, you know, candidates complained about the interview scheduling process. And I provided summaries to the sales team or the sales team about that specific company. Now, this was something that used to take the sales rep an average of like 2 days, just going through a couple companies at the same time in preparation for their calls. And it basically became like one button click, it does the job. And that's like, if they wanted to manually check, not manually, they wanted to manually trigger the workflow. But then I also added, you know, another trigger where on a daily basis, it looks through a list of some of the companies that are currently prospecting, very early stages, doing that usual outreach to those prospects. It looks through their Glassdoor pages, identifies, you know, companies that have negative candidate reviews, and then gives a summary to the sales rep. Something that I built for one sales rep became a thing that was used by the entire sales team. I did not touch organizational data. The prospects they were looking to have conversations with were very early stages, so not much detail, you know, about them, and I did not touch the company's CRM. That in itself became a tool that the entire sales team was using, and then they started coming to me with all their ideas on, oh, there's this other thing we want to do. Do you think you could, you know, they kept saying, do you think you could use your tool, you know, to help us, you know, create something? Because people don't really care as much about the specific tooling. They care about the business outcomes, and that's what you need to, you know, focus on. What are the business outcomes people care about, and how can I use AI to, you know, build workflows for that? And that takes me to this next point. When you're describing the thing you want to build, you should focus on the business outcome, not the feature. You're not talking about a dashboard. You're not talking about a report generator. You're not talking about an AI assistant. Forget all those buzzwords and focus on what this solves for the business. Are you cutting costs? Are you increasing revenue? Are you saving time? Those are the things that you need to highlight to get people's attention. Otherwise, it will be dead on arrival. Nobody's going to get excited about it. You won't get as much support as you need. It'll be difficult to rally people around to do anything, you know, to help you build the AI tools. Because the truth is, if you're going to build any complex, sophisticated AI workflow, you're going to need people across, say, for example, IT. you're going to need senior sponsors, somebody at the leadership level who's going to back the need for that. Somebody is going to ask you for a business case. These are things that are already outside your day-to-day. And so you need to make sure that it starts to make sense from when you're pitching the workflow, that they're thinking about it as a, oh my, we're currently spending 10 hours doing this. This translates to, this dollar value that we could be saving as a company. If we used AI for it, probably saves us, that amount, and it frees up our time to focus on more high value tasks. So you need to practice constantly, like whatever tooling idea you have, you need to think about, okay, so what is the potential business outcome here? And then use that to sell the tool to the team. You also need to understand the people you're talking to. If you're building something that's like for 1 to 3 people, it might be difficult for you to explain why you need to carve out time to build that, because you need time to build your AI workflows. But then if you're building for like 10 plus people, for example, you need to be mentally prepared for how much work goes into that. Unlike your personal tools where anything goes, if you're building tools that people will use, then you need to prepare for things like documentation, trainings, how to improve the quality over time, because you're not just going to ship that workflow and then leave it. It's not one and done. You're always going to iterate on that tool as you get feedback. You need an owner. Sometimes you won't be the owner of that tool. You need a co-owner of that AI workflow. So for example, if you're building something, the example I gave where I built something for the sales team, I was a co-owner of that workflow because somebody in sales needed to be the owner for that. And the reason is you could be doing something outside of your department, but you want a subject matter expert to sit in as an owner so that they can give their own expert opinion about that tool, and so that you make sure you're building the right thing for the team. Now, you also need to think about how people's role might change, or what the people you're trying to get on board, what their needs are. And this looks different, for the different people you'll be working with. The end user would probably think about, how does this tool make me look? Do I look good if I use this AI workflow, or do I look stupid? The manager might be thinking, okay, so who's accountable for this? If something goes wrong, who do I talk to? The IT person might be thinking, okay, so if you bring in this AI workflow, how does it affect our data? Are we touching our data? Those are questions they'll have. If in your pitch, you're able to, identify those things upfront and address them, you have a much better chance at scaling your workflow. Like I mentioned, find co-owners, and you may need different co-owners for different things. Somebody needs to probably focus on the quality. Ideally, a subject matter expert who understands what good looks like should probably own that. Who handles failures? It might be you, because you built that workflow. Who owns maintenance? It could also be you. Who approves the changes? Maybe the subject matter expert. You don't need 10 people, but you just need to identify the different ownership levels and just assign that to someone. This could be handled by 2 people or 1 person, but just make sure you're clear on what needs ownership and making sure that there's someone tied to it. And then now coming to how do you scale it? So you've now understood like how to prioritize what to build, what the setup would potentially look like. Here's where the real work is. One hack I have found that works for me is I find a champion. I find somebody who people listen to within the organization, and I make them the star. An example could be the sales rep example that I shared earlier. While this person wasn't senior, they were influential enough to get the rest of their sales team to use it, because they were so excited about how much time it saved them, and they had good relationships with their teammates. So the minute they saw the value, they talked it up every meeting. It was good to them. They wanted to get everybody to use it. Don't focus on trying to get credit for everything you build. The truth is, if you're trying to do something at an organizational level, you might not be the only star in that story. So if you're building something for a different department, You probably want to find somebody who is either loud enough or influential enough or senior enough that can get behind your project. Another thing you can do is solve a problem that they care about and then ask them to demo it. So when it's them talking about the product or the workflow in their own language, they're more likely to get other people to jump on it. The more senior, the better. I'll be transparent with you on that. The bit is you have to evangelize the tool. You don't just like ship a thing, a workflow, and say, well, guys, we've just embedded AI into this, or we think this AI workflow would be super great for people, and then you leave it there. You have to find different ways to get people, to one, know that this workflow exists in the first place. You have to help them understand, how to use it. You have to show them other people using it. Essentially, you have to help drive FOMO of some sort, where people feel like, okay, well, it seems like this is catching on, other people are using it, I should be using it as well. And 3 ways you could do that is praise other people using it. Like within your, Slack or Teams, if somebody uses a thing, have a quick chat with them, draft what it is you can say together, or just basically mention them, thanking them for using it and then explaining the use case. Another one is just demoing business outcomes, right? You want to talk about how a particular workflow helps drive a business outcome. How did it save costs? How did it help reduce time? Again, going back to those, key principles, you have to really, you have to make sure that your workflow is aligned with a business outcome. Otherwise, like, there's no point. You don't want to come across as the person who just fiddles with AI. You want to come across as the person who actually is driving business growth with AI. And then also ask for feedback, openly as you build things, as you get alignment, when you ask people to give you their feedback, especially the subject matter experts, they'll go crazy with it, and also support you as you iterate on the workflow. Now, one other thing you should do is constantly address the anxieties. Don't wait for people to ask those things. You need to almost like be proactive about it. You have to anticipate those questions people might be asking in their heads. Sometimes the reason why people aren't as excited about your workflow is they have concerns. They're not just like being vocal with those concerns. So you want to, one, sort of like preempt them and then surface those concerns and address those concerns, right? A big one I have seen in my work helping teams implement AI is people are concerned about AI displacing their roles, right? So the first thing I do is I try to help them see how this is not replacing you. This is actually helping you frame up your time so that you can focus on all these other things. One of the anxiety is like, what would I then spend my time doing? Because somebody has probably been doing the same thing, over and over and over again for years. And suddenly somebody's coming to tell them, well, AI is going to stop you from doing all of this. Now you also have to show them what their future would look like if you bring in that workflow. So you need to think about how the concerns people have, whether they've shared those concerns with you or not. You have to dig for them and address those concerns early on. Always keep humans in the loop. Humans love feeling important. So if you implement an AI workflow, you need to make sure that you're letting people know, well, this is not, at least in at this stage that we are, you need to make humans feel important. And that means letting people know, well, I'm going to put you in the review process for this. This won't run until you've taken a second look at it. I'm trusting your expertise to make sure that we're, delivering we're getting the right output. Make sure you put a human in the loop. And it's also good to make sure that you have like more eyes on whatever it is you're building, especially the output. Again, people don't care so much about the workflow or the technology, at least from my experience working within business teams. They just care about the outcomes, right? But then if you put humans in the loop, people feel like they're getting better with AI. You're showing them how to work with AI. That improves their appetite for AI, and so that allows you, kind of opens doors for you as well, where you're then allowed, to do more things with AI. That's it for me in terms of like what I have to share with you tonight. But I also have like a tool that you can test out building your first, AI workflow. If you've never built an AI workflow before or an AI agent before, Gumloop is a tool that I use and I have helped teams implement. You can basically build simple to complex workflows. I have built workflows where it's just one step. But these were things, it was probably something I was spending my time on. And I can share my templates with you. Maybe I'm just going to drop a link on my post about this on LinkedIn tomorrow. I have a couple templates I have built just using Gumloop. It could be passing content on, say, content that I have on a spreadsheet. It could be reviewing, like I said, the Glassdoor reviews workflow that I built. I used make.com, but then I recreated it in Gumloop because Gumloop is a much more user-friendly platform. Alternatives, you could use tools like N8N. It's more technical, but you can use that as well. Make.com is another, but Gumloop is one I find to be super intuitive and can handle complex workflows. You can also use it to build your AI agents. I have built multiple AI agents on this platform as well. And my consultancy is an implementation partner. So you have access to, I'm giving everyone access to 10,000 free credits if you scan the code for your first month. Typically, free users get 2,000, but you can get 10,000 if you use the coupon that I have there. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have specific questions about using Gumloop. I'm happy to guide you. One last bit, one other thing I find teams struggle with is just understanding where to start with AI. And so I built this AI agent. Basically, it's a call that you get on, and then you're able to identify your most repetitive task that you can hand off to AI. If you talk with it for maybe about 5 to 7 minutes, it will send you an instant report. Now, the thing that's more powerful about this tool is you can get your team on it as well. If you do your own call with it, you get your report, send it to your team, they do the same. You can all then compare your reports, and that serves as a good baseline, to decide, okay, so this looks like something we should be automating or we should embed AI in as a team because it's come up in our different reports. So when you have, when you all have something that you can reference, it's a good way to start the conversation about what do we implement, or what do we improve in our workflows with AI. So that's that pretty much. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Adejoke Adekunle on LinkedIn. I will post the link to my Gumloop templates, like I mentioned. And if you have questions about building AI agents or AI workflows, please reach out to me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you so much. I cannot wait to use your template, honestly, to automate all of the boring tasks. And what's amazing about what you just presented is that I feel like it makes AI more accessible for also other members of the team. And so, it kind of ingrains in your mind the fact that, oh yeah, this actually could be automated. And so that's amazing because it really lowers the barrier to this technology for so many people. And that's also the point of events like this one, to share practices, insights, tools to make life easier with the technology that we can all learn. So thank you so much about that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so yeah, and indeed we also have free credits. So make sure to follow all of our speakers. So thank you again, all of you to join us, for having joined us, for having shared your insights, your thoughts. Thank you so much thank you so much to Thierry also and the GDG Mons for the organizations. Feel free to follow also the GDG Brussels and the Women Tech Makers Brussels for the next events. And what else, Thierry?
Yes, I can add anything. anything else? You already said all. Just thank everyone who joined us today, and don't miss our next event by follow our pages. I have on the sidebar a link, some links that you can follow to join our communities and to keep in touch with us. Thank you, Federica, to co-hosting this event with me. And thank you to all our amazing speakers who has accepted to join us and to talk, give amazing talks, present amazing subjects and topics today. And yes, it was great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for all of you to joining us. We had very consistent participants, so it was very useful. We're going to have also the recording of the session as soon as possible shared on social media. And with that, I would say have a good rest of the evening, and see you next time at the next events.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.